I picked like the best week ever to plant a bunch of trees because it's just rained like every day. It's amazing. Look, I wanted to share an important message with everybody because sometimes it's something that overwhelms me, so I assume it affects a lot of us here in the community. And I also feel like it needs to be said just because it's easy to let things get away from you if you always prioritize preparedness over everything else. And I really want to drive home the fact that even though obviously this is a preparedness channel, so I generally am only going to showcase things related to preparedness, prepping is supposed to be plan B, right? You have to approach prepping as being a secondary option, a fallback plan, something that you're going to rely on if things fall apart. You shouldn't prioritize prepping over living your life or planning for your future. You should plan on your future being what it is right now in the sense of what you're trying to accomplish and what goals you have in mind. You shouldn't insert the idea of an SHTF or a world ending event in your future in order to deny yourself opportunities you may have otherwise taken. And this is a big thing I think a lot of people might suffer from because you get preparedness paralysis, right? You'll get isolated and remain in one place because you're worried about what might happen if you were to suddenly shift positions, right? If you suddenly picked everything up and moved to a new location, you have a lot of work to do. You have to replan all of your evacuation routes and do your area study, and you have to turn around and start implementing, gardens and everything else on a new property that you wouldn't have had to do if you didn't move yourself forward. But you might be missing an opportunity by remaining in place due to the fact that something could happen. And this is something that I suffer from in some ways because right now I'm in a very good position. It would be really difficult to convince me that leaving my current area and my current property would be a good idea. However, if the right opportunity presented itself, I wouldn't deny myself that option just because something might happen. And you see it a lot, especially financially. People don't tend to plan for retirement or for their children's education, which these days to me would be, probably better invested in a trade school or something like that. But either way, people aren't investing in those things because they're worried about something that's going to happen right now. And although the ingredients are there to turn this recipe of disaster into something of a reality, we have to continue on as if things are going to maintain the current course. And I know that's hard to do because of all of the negativity that we constantly digest, because it's all out there 24/7 in the news cycle, right? Constantly reminding us about how difficult things are becoming and how hopeless everything is. And a lot of us are experiencing that personally too. I'm sure many of you are struggling financially. I see it all the time right now on my local social media pages, right? Where people, I've never seen this over the last few years that I've lived here. And lately I see a lot of posts about people saying, is there anyone that can help me out with groceries? Is there anybody that can help me out with food for the next week or two until I get my first paycheck? Is there anyone that can help me with transportation? I don't have a way to get to work. I'm seeing a lot of those requests, and where we live, there's generally an abundance of jobs, but people are still struggling just trying to make things work, even though the job market is there, which I assume means in other places where the job market's not as strong is probably making people's lives even more difficult. So just remember that prepping is for that plan B scenario, right? And look, Midway USA, I always mention them in every video because, well, that's the deal that we've made. And I actually appreciate their partnership and I don't mind doing it. I know a lot of people, feel a certain way about it, but I'm just really glad that a company like Midway is willing to support what I do so that I can keep doing this and hopefully provide you guys with good information or at least thought processes while also getting access to equipment and gear that I otherwise might not be able to afford. So I like Midway USA and I appreciate their partnership, but I understand why people have their concerns about conflict of interest and stuff like that. But go back and watch some of my review videos. I promise I'm not shilling for anybody. In fact, I've definitely hurt myself when it comes to certain relationships because of being too honest. So that's just the nature of the deal. But listen, without all of you, I wouldn't have these opportunities. But if I didn't take some of these risks in the past to get to this point of my preparedness journey where I am now, planting trees and owning property and stuff like that, then I would still be in suburbia, right? I would still be working in the hospitality industry. I would still be managing, different locations and large amounts of employees and everything else. And that's fine, but it's not what I wanted to do. But I was comfortable. I had good income, and I also had the ability to prepare where I was and not disrupt myself. But I took some risks, and I decided to move forward in order to maybe accomplish more, which I actually did, which I'm extremely appreciative of and grateful for. But if I would have been paralyzed by preparedness, then who knows where I'd be right now, right? And so when you're looking at your plans, your preparedness plans, obviously I think preparedness is important. I think prepping is a good idea, obviously, right? I don't think I should have to say that, but I just want to reiterate that I'm not here telling you not to prepare. What I'm saying is ensure that the decisions you're making, especially when it comes to the trajectory of your life, that prepping is still plan B, right? It can be a priority, but it shouldn't be prioritized over your entire life. You should be trying to keep moving forward in your life while prepping as a supplementary activity, right? Like it should be something that supplements your life, that enhances your life, that gives you peace of mind and insurance against things that could go wrong. But if you're betting everything you've ever worked for on the world, ending or on things falling apart to the degree where all of your prepping is finally going to pay off, well, it is what it is at that point. It's betting, it's gambling, right? And it might pay off, but it also might not. And don't forget, especially if you have a family, you have an inherent responsibility to provide, your kids and your spouse or whatever you consider to be your family with good opportunities and good memories, right? Like they should be able to experience life and experience things so that they can build their opinions and their perspective and understand why that preparedness is so important so they can protect what it is that they find to be valuable. And that's something I struggle with sometimes because, I've got a young family and I want to make sure that they get to enjoy their lives and live comfortably and also experience the things that, kids want to experience and go on vacations and take trips and go learn about new exciting things that they wouldn't have access to unless I was willing to take them there, right? So what's that take? Financial resources, energy, time, and from a preparedness perspective, extreme amounts of risk, right? Because anytime you leave your castle, right, you are hoping nothing goes wrong because you don't have any of your supplies anymore. We have what we can have, right? You have your go bag or your get home bag. You have a couple extra pieces of equipment and whatever else you might bring with you. But it's never going to be your house, right? And I would feel like a bad person or a bad parent if I didn't let my children experience anything in life because I was always scared of leaving my house because, well, that's where all our preps are, and what if something happens, So if I think that way, and if I'm a fringe weirdo prepper, which I most certainly am, then I have to assume many of you have struggled with this before too. And so I just wanted to put it out there as just a thought-provoking conversation for you to consider and for you to think about when you're making plans and when you're trying to take care of your family and when you're trying to make decisions and sacrifices about your future while also remaining as prepared as possible because it's hard, it's difficult, right? And I think for me, the best way to make those plans and the best way to move forward is to always remember and consider the concept that, what I do in preparedness, what I do as a prepper is plan B. And so if plan A has to move forward, that takes priority. And then plan B will be accounted for and re-implemented when the time is right. And any prepping you do is always going to be beneficial, no matter how much it is. and you're 99% ahead of everyone else on the planet if you have even the basics of preparedness figured out or put away. So keep that in mind. Um, I know, casual format, more of just like a conversational, topical video, but I don't know. I've personally struggled with this, especially lately. There's been so much happening in the world and so much going on that it feels hard to pull the trigger on doing anything, right? Because like it could be tomorrow, you know what I mean? And I don't live my life like that. Like I'm willing to take some risks, just the way it is. At least in my professional experience and in my personal experience, if you don't take risk, you generally don't often move forward. And I've taken a lot of risks, but it's paid off pretty well. I've been pretty successful in my life. Um, and no, not just because of YouTube. I think a lot of people misconstrue that. I was not born wealthy. I did not go to college. I don't have anything special. I've worked at one company for a decade and just worked my way up. That's it. Big secret, I know. Um, but that's the truth. So hopefully this helps somebody out. I think we need these reminders every so often. Plus, it's just a really nice day. You just kind of, look out in my field and listen to birds. Why not, right? All right, well, listen, anything else you need from me at all, magicpepper.com is a good resource. There's lots of discount codes and sponsorship and affiliate information there and stuff like that. Just check it out every so often. I update it periodically, and there's stuff that could help you out there. So check that out, and then anything else you need from me, you know what to do. And besides that, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.